Swadikap, welcome back to Striking Nation. This video is going to be the full breakdown of the fight between Rodtang and Superlek. This is probably one of my most favorite fight in ONEChampionship history. It's the crash between two of the best of this generation of Muay Thai. For the past 2 years, Superlek has been regarded as probably the best Muay Thai fighter of his generation. Rodtang has been seen as the strongest Muay mat style of this generation and also the most popular Muay Thai fighter of ONEChampionship. And the level of skill being displayed in this fight alone is just really impressive to watch. That is why I decided to analyze this fight and learn more about what did Superlek and Rodtang do to not only counter each other's style and game plan on the fly, but also just learn about the game plan that they both come into this fight with. There's a lot of things to talk about in this video, but first of all I have to say that this video is actually the remake of the video that I have made a long time ago, but I have deleted that video due to copyright reason. So all of those stuff aside, if you're new here, leave a like, subscribe, and let's just start out with what I like to call the classic rock, paper, scissors of Muay Thai. Punches beat kick, kick beat elbow, and elbow beat punches. And since everyone knows that Rodtang is a punching dominant fighter, Superlek coming to this fight making sure that his elbow would be as sharp as possible. So you can see that straight away, Superlek opened up with a piercing elbow trying to counter Rodtang left hook in the really first 10 seconds of round 1. However, the first elbow that has been thrown by Superlek missed Rodtang. He managed to dodge it, and the second elbow is immediately thrown just a few seconds later in order to counter Rodtang's right hand. This elbow technique is what you call in Muay Thai a sok ti, which is an elbow that goes from top down. Superlek used this same exact move to counter the general Jonathan Haggerty punching style, duck the opponent punch, lean inside his opponent, position the elbow to strike from top down, trying to counter the opponent's aggressive punching pressure. Jonathan Haggerty unfortunately fall prey to that technique, but for Rodtang it's not gonna end that easily. And at this point, everyone kind of understand that Superlek come in with the game plan of trying to counter Rodtang punching style using his elbow. And of course, this is something that a lot of people would probably expect, knowing that Rodtang is a really strong puncher. So Superlek coming up with this game plan is not surprising at all. And just a fun fact here, I believe I heard Rodtang in his interview say something along the line of he doesn't really like to use his elbow in a fight, and the only time that he would start using his elbow is when the opponent decides to use the elbow on him first, and that is exactly what follow up here. Rodtang follow up Superlek's second elbow with a piercing elbow of his own. It didn't land flush on Superlek, but don't worry cause there's a lot more elbow coming up in the entirety of this 3-round matchup. For the first round alone, Superlek throw around 10 elbow and Rodtang throw around 12 elbow. And 22 elbow with the really first round is not something you often see. So Superlek start out with a lot of aggressive elbow trying to counter Rodtang punching pressure. But those elbow doesn't really land so well on Rodtang. He have a really sharp eye and is probably already prepared to face this kind of technique from Superlek. So a lot of the thrusting elbow or the overhead elbow that Superlek throw kind of missed Rodtang by just slightly. Rodtang would stand just slightly out of range, pull his head back, making sure that Superlek have a really difficult time of landing all of those counter elbow. On the other hand, Rodtang was employing a lot of thrusting elbow and also the uppercut elbow. And Rodtang elbow is exactly what cut Superlek head up in the middle of round 1. Rodtang like to use his thrusting elbow to close the distance up on Superlek. Other than the elbow being thrown in this fight, Superlek was doing a lot of kicking. I mean, of course, he is named the kicking machine for a reason. A lot of his low kick land really nicely on Rodtang, especially in round 1. He mixed in some tip, and the second round, he started going for the body a bit more. On the other hand, Rodtang wasn't really able to land much of his kick on Superlek. Superlek is able to read Rodtang's kicking pattern a lot easier, and it seems to be that there's a clear level difference here in terms of kicking between Superlek and Rodtang. However, in the punching department, Rodtang have the clear advantage. He was able to land his punches more consistently on Superlek, his hand combination going to the head, going to the body, especially that left hook that he have, which is the same story as the kick. Superlek wasn't really able to throw much of a effective punch on Rodtang. Rodtang was able to read Superlek punching distance just really nicely, just kind of dodging most of Superlek punch really well. None of the punches that Superlek throw really do any significant damage on Rodtang at all. And I'm not talking about all those feint jab or the setup shot that he like to throw to control the game. I'm talking about the punch that he actually put power behind it, that he swing into the punch, whether it's gonna be his overhand, his cross or his jab, have a really difficult time of landing on Rodtang. And this basically highlight the fact that Rodtang is much better in the punching department and Superlek is much better in the kicking department. And that is exactly the reason why elbow is such an important weapon in this fight, because it is a level playing field for both of them. So now that I have explained why elbow is an important factor here, and of course in the first round, I would probably say Rodtang win that round. Rodtang elbow were landing really consistently on Superlek. The superficial damage that Rodtang did on Superlek was really real, and I would give the first round to Rodtang. And when the second round starts, Superlek come up with another game plan that is key to his victory, which is the hand control. There's two ways that Superlek like to do his hand control. The first way is that he would reach out with his own left hand, trying to grab onto Rodtang's right hand. This allows Superlek's right hand to be free to swing into whichever punch he wants to, even some elbow or swing into his kick, but it compromised Rodtang's right hand, which is his main weapon. When Superlek grabbed Rodtang's hand, he's able to feel when Rodtang trying to jump into action, so Superlek was able to pull away every time that Rodtang tried to put pressure, and even managed to land some counter strike of his own once he got to a safe distance. Another way that Superlek do his hand control is that he would reach out with both of his hands to grab onto both of Rodtang's hands. And the purpose of doing this is around the same as the first way. So he is able to feel Rodtang's force coming in, he is able to get away in time and dodge. Another thing that it did really well is that it allowed him to land leg kick from that position. Another thing that Superlek do in that position, taking advantage of the open hand glove, the full out scuff, forced Rodtang to stay away from him by grabbing a hold of that arm and just push Rodtang away. This is a really simple approach of stopping Rodtang forward pressure, trying to give yourself a positional advantage, and something that is really infuriating if you are Rodtang trying to get in close and punch Superlek. And if Rodtang decide to pressure Superlek even more, Superlek can even let go of his hand control from time to time and launch into his attack, whether it's gonna be the flying knee, jump knee. It could also be a transition from the hand control to an elbow, and that is basically the bread and butter of Superlek game plan, to control Rodtang in the mid-range using the hand control and punish Rodtang punching style using the counter elbow. This plan on paper just sounds perfect, but his opponent is Rodtang, so Rodtang is not just gonna sit there and just see this plan being executed without doing something about it. So first of all, Rodtang just keep punching Superlek anyway. If Rodtang is able to time all the shots well enough, he can still land his punches on Superlek, and you see this happen a bunch of times, especially with the left hook game. And also Rodtang elbow game inside of the clinch is actually better than that of Superlek. From what I have observed, Rodtang seems to be able to land his elbow a lot more consistently in the clinch range, while Superlek was more focusing on using his elbow to counter Rodtang punch, which means all those elbow gonna be thrown just before the clinch happened. So inside that range, Rodtang was able to score better with his elbow. Oh, and by the way, in the second round, I just forgot to mention this, Superlek did manage to knock down Rodtang. It was a really controversial knockdown. A lot of people say that wasn't a knockdown. Rodtang said that wasn't a knockdown. He was contesting with a referee, but it was counted as a knockdown anyway. I'm not gonna debate about the rule on whether that should be counted as a knockdown or it shouldn't. But since it happened already, Superlek is the one that is gonna be winning in the second round, getting the 10-8, and is going to be leading in the scorecard coming into the third round. Which is why Rodtang knows really well that he need to do something about that as soon as the third round starts. In the final round, Rodtang was just swinging at Superlek, aiming for his shin, trying to knock him down or knock him out any way he can. So Superlek decided to do a really slick maneuver of defensive strategy, being the ducking. He would keep his shin tucked in really close to himself, duck down to avoid Rodtang punches. Even if Rodtang come in with his elbow trying to get at Superlek's head, he would also do the same thing, ducking down over and over again, making Rodtang miss big, waiting for the round to end and run away with the victory. Another thing he do after he managed to duck down, he would initiate into a clinch. And it's not really an active clinch, by the way, because Superlek know that he cannot out clinch Rodtang. So he decided to go for the underhook, get both of his arms underneath Rodtang, pull him in and just wait it out until the referee separate them. Just being extremely defensive and playing really safe, basically just stalling for time. And I have to be honest with you here, when I start analyzing this fight, I was more on gonna talk about Rodtang's strategy, but after rewatching the fight a bunch of times, slowing it down, I really turned to appreciate Superlek game plan and fight IQ. To the point where you could even argue that if the second round knockdown didn't happen at all, there's still a chance that Superlek could still be the one that is winning. So if there's anything that you can take away from this fight, I would recommend Superlek hand control to deal with aggressive punching style fighter like Rodtang. Whether it's gonna be hand control into a jab, hand control into the kick, hand control into maybe a knee, or simply just hold their hand and just push them away if they try to be aggressive with you. All of the stuff I mentioned can easily be incorporated into your game. And that is everything that I have to say for the analysis of Rodtang versus Superlek. Hopefully we get to see this fight happening again in the future. And thank you all for watching this video. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next breakdown or prediction video. So see you there.